McIntyre. And the first thing I want to say is not about me, but it's about the 14 people that are running. It's really been an enlivening and awakening experience for me to run with these people. And even though I disagree with some of them really deeply on some issues, they all have in their mind the best interests of Boulder at heart. And you hear people like Matt and Jan and Adam. They're all great speakers, and they all really care a lot. So anyway, it's been a great experience for me. So about me now. So I'm a 40-year resident of Boulder. I moved here in '77, even before college. My interest at the time was in a community that I moved from a suburb of Kansas City, and it was like, wow, this place is awesome. The outdoors, the culture, the vitality, the liberal political aspect of it. It all was just an incredible draw. And I ended up going to CU. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. I didn't pay the bills, so I did other things when I got out of school, but I've still maintained a great interest in Boulder being an artistic and fun and vibrant city. I have 4 generations of family living here. So my wife and I have 2 children that are grown and live here. My daughter lives in Table Mesa with 2 grandkids. My son lives in Heatherwood, and my mother lives in Gun Barrel, and my in-laws live in Longmont. So I've got everyone from late 80s through 3 years old, and my granddaughter just walked by a few minutes ago. So anyway, so I'm deeply invested in the community. And over this time, I've thought a lot about change, and I've seen a lot of changes in Boulder. People say, gee, Boulder's changing, and they say it in a very pejorative, way. And I have seen Boulder make a lot of very positive changes. You think about when I arrived, the mall was brand new. Open space was young. The NCAR was still kind of controversial for both its location and its architecture. So I'm not a believer. I joke that Boulder, it's been downhill since the day I arrived, but that's not really the case. I'm a believer that change can benefit us, and change can be a positive force in our community. And no matter whether we like it or not, change continues to come. And I think the choice we have is, do we fight and fail to beat back the change, or do we embrace it and do we lead? And that's what I'm hoping to do on council, is provide leadership that we embrace changes that benefit the community and provide for the greatest good. The other things I want to work on council is, and I have this umbrella of that, and that is, I want Boulder to walk its talk about livability and diversity and inclusivity. Because it's one thing to hang out a multilingual welcome sign. It's another thing to actually have housing options that allow for greater economic diversity. If you're welcoming, but you're expected to show up with $1.5 million and buy a single family home on a quarter-acre lot, that's not true inclusivity or diversity. So I have worked for, in my business background, I want to say, I'm similar to Jan in the sense that I have 30 years in Boulder doing contracted technical sales for U.S. manufacturers to U.S. Large OEMs here in the Front Range. So I have a 30-year business background, contract negotiation, people skills, technical sales, process controls, that sort of thing, reading and understanding technical data. But during that whole same time, I've been working for and been part of progressive social causes and environmental causes. And I see no dichotomy between being understanding of how our economy works and how businesses work and being a progressive, liberal social person. So I want to talk about livability. I think Boulder can be more livable for everybody. And the way we're going to get there is by having greater flexibility in housing, We need to understand that, you know, our 3 and 4 unrelated persons ordinance is somewhat archaic, and we need to enforce nuisance ordinances against behavior that affects other residences, but familial status is not a means of growing our housing stock or allowing people to live in certain places. I just fundamentally and morally disagree with that. We need to have more housing flexibility and understand that we have different family structures. So granny flats, accessory dwelling units, make some of our existing units people have in their basement and so forth are unsafe and they're illegal. Let's bring those into the system. Let's make them safe and legal. We need to change our zoning, and Ed, I'm sure, is going to speak about this in just a minute. We need to change our zoning so that we have broader flexibility and we have zones where we can have light industrial, workshop, artist spaces with residences above, and we need to have new centers. Not everything needs to be downtown in terms of our cultural vitality, restaurants and shops. We need to have new small centers and new small neighborhoods where we have underutilized commercial and industrial space now. On transportation, we need to make Boulder more livable with greater transportation options. I'm a committed cyclist. I'm campaigning by bike. I rode here today, including my yard signs. So if you want one of those, they might be wet. But I'm a committed cyclist, and you know, something about our community. People think about cycling in Boulder, and you think about, you know, middle-aged guys clad in Lycra out on their expensive road bikes. The other population that rides their bike a lot is our Hispanic community and mobile home parks. And I want my kids and grandkids and those kids to be able to ride their bikes safely to and from school, and for people to be able to commute to their work and jobs safely and conveniently. I don't want to make transporting by car painful. I want to make the other options more convenient and safer. So on the muni, I too, like the other 2 candidates that have talked already, voted for and actively supported the muni during the first 2 rounds of voting. I have reluctantly come to realize that we are not reaching our carbon goals. I think our carbon goals are urgent, they're important, they need action now. And I think we have a missed opportunity in that I would have supported an extension of the occupation tax had the occupation tax been worded to allow us to pursue our carbon goals via whatever method. As it stands now, I wasn't on council for this one, as it stands now, the occupation tax is an up or down vote on the muni. So I will not be supporting the occupation tax in this election. But it's sad to me that we have a revenue stream that could be in support of our carbon goals and is now, well, anyway, it won't be other than if we go forward with the muni. So I want to take some questions. How am I doing here?
1.5 minutes.
Okay, well, perfect. Okay. Any questions, quickly?
You said
Yes.
you wanted to make it safer for alternative transportation. How?
We can do a lot with paint, and we can do a lot with plastic bollards. You know, the Folsom experiment, a portion of that was a failure. There were problems with that, right? But the northern portion, where we have a wider bike lane, bollards separating cyclists, and they're just visual bollards. They're not going to keep a car from coming to the bike lane, but it's amazing. People actually don't want to hit a bollard. Sometimes it seems like more than a cyclist. So we can do a lot with flexibility in our transportation system, with bollards, with paint, with changing, making our streets complete. Cycling around as a commuter, I can tell you that 1 minute you're on a great path, the next minute it ends, and just trying to get around, it actually, you have to be kind of a master tactician in, well, how am I gonna get from here to there safely on my bike? Because it's different than when you're driving your car. So it doesn't require major millions of dollars of infrastructure, but it does require a commitment to making cycling safer. Okay?
12 seconds.
All right, there we go.